Speaking of which, this is something I wanted to get to, and I'll be full disclosure on this and full transparency. I debated whether or not I was going to mention it, just because there are so many reasons when somebody is simply wanting attention and then is successful getting it, sometimes you feel like you're playing into something. But I didn't want to get to the weekend. This is one of these things where sometimes you get to the end of a show or you get to the end of the week and you say, damn it, I wish I had said something because it touched a nerve with me and it's important to me. And this is one of those things. And I think on balance, it's more important that I say what I have to say about what happened yesterday on FS1 and Skip Bayless's comments about Dak Prescott and being open about his battle with depression. And it's another thing that was shocking to me. And let me say first, I understand the whole Bayless bit. And it's one thing to be a troll and make a lot of money doing it and get a lot of attention because you just feed off saying LeBron James sucks or Tim Tebow is great and just saying crazy things that people say, oh my God, can you believe he said that? That's fine. And it's sports, and a lot of people in sports are stupid chuds that say stuff, or active provocateurs who have to keep going further and further and be more and more extreme to get a certain niche of attention from certain categories of people that makes you feel good in a given moment. And it's all true. But when you go beyond just a bad sports thought to actively do harm, it needs to be pointed out and shouted down with intensity. And it's really, really unfortunate. Dak Prescott of the Cowboys gave an interview to Graham Bensinger, and he talked about experiencing symptoms of depression during the offseason after his brother was found dead April 24th in Texas, and Prescott confirmed that his brother had died by suicide. And he said, all throughout this quarantine and this offseason, I started experiencing emotions that I've never felt before. He said anxiety, the main one. And then honestly, I would say I started experiencing depression. I didn't know what I was going through. I hadn't been sleeping. And he talked about getting help. And Skip Bayless apparently has a problem with this. He questioned his ability as a leader by going public rather than hiding and trying to tough his way through it. Skip Bayless said, you're commanding an entire franchise. They're all looking to you to be their CEO, be in charge of their football team. Because of all that, I don't have sympathy for him going public with, I got depressed. I suffered depression to the point where I couldn't even go work out. He's the quarterback of America's team. Yesterday was World Suicide Awareness Day. Yesterday was World Suicide Awareness Day. And in this situation, it's one thing to be a troll. It's one thing to be an attention hound. It's another thing to contribute to the problem. What causes people, what contributes to people taking their lives is the doubling down on the canard of the toxic masculinity of having to hide and pretend that mental health the mental health issues aren't real, or to try to pretend that you're supposed to tough your way through things because you have to lead other people. Dak Prescott is absolutely right about what he says when he says, I think it's a fake leader with saying you have to not admit some of this stuff. So being a leader is about being genuine and being real. If I wouldn't have talked about those things to the people I did, I wouldn't have realized that my friends and a lot more people go through them and that they are as common as they are. I don't care how big a person you are. If you're not mentally healthy and you're not thinking the right way, you're not going to be able to lead people the right way. Hear, Dak Prescott. I think so much more highly of Dak Prescott than I ever have in the wake of this. There is an adult here and someone who understands what's real and true and okay, and that's Dak Prescott. And it's not Skip Bayless. That is crossing a line. And like I say, I feel bad because he wants his name mentioned and he wants attention. And I go back to his time in Chicago. I hosted shows on the Score with him. And it pains me to have to provide the attention that's craved, but this is beyond. It's actively wrong. And to do it on World Suicide Prevention Day just made me so angry. I had to get that off my chest. I've got to tell you how I feel about that. And it's also because it hits home for me that my wife has been very open about her battle with anxiety and depression and bipolar 2 disorder. And that openness and the destigmatization is incredibly important to me. And I'm sorry if I get a little emotional here, but it hits home. And hearing Bayless and hearing on the eve of football, to hear the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, indeed the quarterback of America's team, lead in the way that he did, and to have that called out from somebody apparently who was saying so from 1950 or wherever he's coming from, just pissed me off. Because there are kids out there and there are young men and women who are athletes and who are leaders and who are suffering. Every single day they are suffering, and they have to know it's okay. It's more than okay. It's normal, and it's okay to seek help and to admit that you need it. There are so many wonderful organizations around here, and for the past couple years, I have volunteered to help the Rebecca's Dream Foundation. And what Rebecca's Dream does, it's a Chicago-based organization in memory of the late journalist Rebecca Cutler. And what they do is they work in schools to destigmatize mental illness and depression and anxiety. And they work and they have workshops and conversations and continuing to raise awareness to help young people, to help teenagers deal with these very real situations. It's a wonderful organization, and I've been proud to have been a part of it. My wife also speaks every year for the last couple of years at an international conference for the wedding industry of vendors and planners, because that's an industry that has also found it stigmatized to talk about these things. Also found it in a way where everybody's supposed to be the best day of your life and happiness and literally flowers and cake and all is wonderful. And people have been, it's an industry that has seen its own share of suicides. So for Skip Bayless on World Suicide Prevention Day to call out Dak Prescott for being depressed and for admitting his depression over his brother's own suicide just hit me to the core. And in last couple of years, when I've spoken at the fundraiser for Rebecca's Dream, I've talked about athletes. I've talked about men like Kevin Love and others who have shown this vulnerability and who have stood up and allowed themselves to be vulnerable, knowing how that they're going to be called out by the atavists out there. But they've done it, and it's mattered, and it's helped. And when Bayless says what he says, to try to wind things back in a way that's so damaging, I felt I had to say something. And if I'm giving him the attention he deserves, fine. But when I thought about it at length and I considered on balance what was the right thing to do, I think it's better to say, you go, Dak Prescott. It has nothing to do with football. I can root for you as a football player, but it's more important that I'm rooting for Dak Prescott as a person. And for what it's important that the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys can be a leader and say that he is a leader because of what he is able to admit. It is okay. And just the fact that somebody would do something like that on a day that is specifically designed worldwide to help people be aware of such things, I found absolutely galling.